Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, it is 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. Thank you very much for being here. It is The Lock Shop, Dusty and Huss, brought to you by our great partners over at Coolbet. Huss should be popping by right away. I got to get Hustler's thoughts on WWE going to Netflix. That's really what I want to spend the whole time talking about that. Huss is a big wrestling guy. Get his thoughts on Netflix kind of stepping in with the WWE. Is that my computer? Yeah, I was playing Lock Shop too. Look, I'm a big fan of the show. What can I say? Huss is going to pop by. I have been off the betting scene for the last few days, so very happy to hop back into it with my Lock Shop partner today. Decent little slate in the National Hockey League for a Wednesday, actually, as well. So we got that going for us. And then I thought the Liners opened at 6.5, didn't they? That's sitting at 7 right now, so we can definitely get into that. And the Chiefs, 3.5-point dogs on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. I saw Pacheco did not practice today as he is dealing with a bit of a toe injury, but he's continuing to trend in the right direction for this weekend. Of course, you can text us anytime here on The Lock Shop. It is a sports betting show, but Huz and I like to talk about some of the biggest stories in sports as well, so we'll get into that. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. And, of course, hit us up in the Nasty Chat as well, where we celebrate our losses and rally together for some bad beats. You Chaz says the partner parlay last night took an absolute beating. What was the partner parlay last night, Huss? What did I miss, buddy?
The partner parlay was over 6.5 in the Ottawa-Montreal game. Ottawa got up 3-0, and then somehow, rarely, held an opponent to 1 goal. So that finished at 5. What really irked me was the Detroit game. We had Detroit as a home dog. They were up 2-1 after the first. They were 10-0 after leading after the first period. Best record in the NHL. And the Wings threw up all over themselves. I mean, the amount of giveaways they had to Dallas in that third period, or the second period, and it completely flipped the game from 2-1 to 5-2. They then battled back. But at that point, Ottawa and Montreal was not happening, so it wasn't as bad. But they ended up losing 5-4. Totally on them. They actually did, I think, play better than the Dallas Stars for the most part in that game. And then Buffalo. We had Buffalo in Anaheim. And I don't know what it is with the Sabres. Every time you think they're getting on a bit of a run, they remind you that they're still the Buffalo Sabres. Kind of reminds me of a football team in Buffalo as well, to be perfectly honest.
You just sticking it in a little bit further, eh? My God.
Well, you know what? I really tried to hold back the last 2 days with Pat on the program.
Yeah, of course. That's nice of you. Polite.
You know what? I did make one cheap shot at the end of the first. I was so well behaved for the entire show. And then at the end, I said, I was a little disappointed with some of the antics of the Bills Mafia, throwing snowballs, pelting the Chiefs with snowballs at the end. In Buffalo, they throw snowballs. In Kansas City, we throw parades. And then that was the end of the show. And that was like, oh, my God, I can't believe you did that. But,
that's good. I like that.
But yeah, anyways, the partner parlay stunk last night. I did come through with the play of the day in your absence, though. Tampa
Beautiful.
In Philly. And that was a nice one. I mean, that was basically a pick 'em. I guess they were technically a slight underdog at -107 to -110. But
man, I had a bad beat last night myself. Actually, I just was like, let's make a safer play on a bigger number, and I had Oilers in regulation with the Rangers in regulation, and they blew a 2-0 lead to the San Jose Sharks last night and lost it overtime. 2-0 lead going in the third. I went to bed. I was just like, perfect, done. Rangers are up 2-0. Oilers already won. And then I didn't actually realize that the Sharks won until Eric read it on a sports update today. And I had to stop myself from being like, what? Like in my mind, I was just like, son of a, are you kidding me? So yeah, back at it right away. That was great last night. I can't believe they did that.
The Sharks had quite the 48 hours. I mean, they beat the Kings in OT and then the Rangers in OT in back-to-back nights. I don't know what if you would bet. I know the Sharks were against the Kings. I want to say about a +320 or something like that underdog. They were over 3-1 as well last night. So I'm not sure if any sicko out there actually went and doubled down on the Sharks after the Kings game. But should be in. I mean, hey, listen, what I have to ask you just about the show, because I mean, obviously there's one big story right now in the NHL. And unfortunately, it's not the Jets Leafs game tonight, which we thought would really be getting a lot of run. Not at all. What time did the news out of London break for you guys? And
actually, it came out. We had our legal analyst Eric Macramala on the show at the time because like Westhead's report. We always have like Macramala joins us every Wednesday at 7:45, and the Westhead thing broke at like 7:40 or something. So we had Macramala lay it out. I mean, I don't remember a lot of what he said right off the top of my head, but if you want to go back to the Nielsen show today on YouTube or on the podcast or whatever, and you can listen to what he had to say. But it's funny you mentioned that because, like, it's just minutes later, the NHL's like, an expansion to Utah. Like, do you think that's just a coincidence, or do you think the NHL had one in the holster to try to at least change the conversation a little bit for part of the day?
Well, okay. I try not to be such a cynic in life, and I know there's enough people out there in the world and on social media that are. So when I saw the press release from the Utah group, which was literally minutes before the Globe and Mail report came out, I believe, saying that these 5 players had to surrender themselves to London police, I wanted to give them, at least the Utah group, the benefit of the doubt on this. But then I saw all the insiders tweeting about it. And God, I don't want to single anybody out. And I mean, yes, they cover the National Hockey League, so I guess it's their job to put that out. But even doing everything you can to not be a cynic, it looks pretty greasy. I mean,
well, almost like it's almost to the point where when you saw the news come out of London, if you're the National Hockey League, you could have said, hey, let's hold this news off. Right? Like, we don't want to lose this in the spotlight of that instead of, rolling it out right after. I mean, they could have pumped the brakes on it. It looked like they kind of had it sitting there waiting because they knew everything was coming down. So, yeah, I mean, conspiracy theory if you want, but it's pretty crazy timing that these two things drop back to back. Like, NHL expansion is not a small story. NHL expansion is going to be talked about on a lot of networks today. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Although, I mean, to be honest, I think anyone that spends their time talking about that looks like an absolute puppet for the NHL.
Yeah, but it'll be talked about by some places.
I can tell you, we're not going to be spending more than 2 seconds talking about it, and it'll be mentioned in the vein that it probably should be mentioned of, as a complete smokescreen to what's actually happening right now. Like, we were finishing up the show yesterday when Carter Hart went on his personal leave. And, in today's day and age, so many people are like, oh, it's really good that he's, going to take care of his mental health and all that stuff. And I'm like, people, like, if you read the release from the Flyers, it was Carter Hart has requested an indefinite absence of the team for personal reasons. It had nothing to do with mental health. It wasn't going into the league assistant program. I mean, this wasn't, like many people have had before when they're dealing with substance issues or those sort of things. And Dubé, the Dubé thing had sort of slipped through to me. I mean, maybe it just because it's a Canadian market. They were wise to put that out, I believe, on Sunday or so, or like sometime on the weekend. So it had sort of happened. And then it wasn't, people weren't.
Yeah, I didn't even know about the Dubé thing until the Carter Hart thing.
Yeah. They quietly put that out on the weekend. So I'm sure it was a bigger story in Calgary, but it didn't really hit the radar here in Winnipeg, and I'm sure in most other markets. But the minute that Hart, like it was first Dubé and then Hart, I think everybody's spidey senses got tingling. And then, of course, you hear that Alex Formenton is all of a sudden taking a leave of absence from his Swiss team and coming back. And I mean, connect the dots if you want as to why that guy's playing in Switzerland.
Well, I mean, I watched him at the last 2 Spengler Cups, and he should be in the National Hockey League.
Well, I mean, I was
you watch him play.
How have the Oilers not signed this guy?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we'll see where this goes from here. They have to turn themselves into London police, whoever the five guys are. I mean, you can connect the dots for now if you want. It's going to continue a story here to continue to unravel. And, depending on what ends up happening with these charges, man, that's a bigger story that continues to unravel here.
Oh,
so.
Well, and listen, here's the other thing. And I mean, people that, I've been, looking up some people and, the London police. Now, maybe this was through his lawyer, because if you remember, Hart, like when a number of the players that legitimately were not involved in this and were getting painted with the brush,
they were putting out the tweets being like, yeah.
Like I remember Cale Makar. Cale Makar was on that team. I mean, this happened at this incident happened surrounding a summer golf tournament in London, Ontario. I guess a celebration of the team. And Makar wasn't even at the event, is my understanding, or wasn't in town like that evening when it happened. I believe he wasn't even there to begin with. So, I mean, they very forcefully put that out. Hey, and I'm like, okay, well, if you have a legitimate alibi, and you're putting that out with the representatives in the team, all right. And then you saw one by one, player by player, sort of mention that. And then there was some deafening silence from a few guys that many happen to be on personal leave from their teams right now. But the Carter Hart one came out that said it didn't deny, from my memory, it didn't deny that he was there or anything like that, but that it said that he'd been cleared of any wrongdoing. And I think that goes back to the initial thing with the London police.
Because they said they weren't going to proceed with criminal charge back then, right?
Exactly, that they'd done that. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot more to this. I mean, the story's out in the Globe and Mail right now. Everyone else in like the news media, like the West Heads and the, what's her name from Katie Strang from ESPN.
Strang. Yeah, she does a great job.
They're all reporting on this. Like, I don't know whether if you're an NHL insider, it's like part of your job that you cannot investigate or report on this sort of stuff, but they look terrible. The first time, like when it sort of came out, like the Blackhawks thing is what I think back to, and how there was absolutely nothing from these guys that are apparently the most tied in guys in the National Hockey League. Like, do they work for the league, or are they Big J journos? I don't know. I have, like, as much as I was trying not to be cynical about the thing coming out from Utah, the Blackhawks thing, like it really does make you wonder how that whole ecosystem works, of who's getting information, why it's being put out, why people are getting it. And, as I say, I mean, it's pretty hard to just kind of jump in and get into a bunch of stuff when this has been on the back burner. It's been deadly silent for a long time, but it has been one of the biggest stories. And it's a societal problem. It's something that touches everyone, with the women in our lives. I mean, your wife, your girlfriend, your daughters. I mean, a lot of guys out there that have female daughters right now, I'm sure are, kind of reevaluating maybe the way they've handled things in the past before over. But I mean,
I also think from, like, I have a daughter, and you nailed it, but I also have a son who I want to raise right and wouldn't put himself in a position like this, right? And getting into elite level sports, whether it's hockey or other things, because it's not just hockey. I mean, hockey in Canada obviously gets a ton of the spotlight, but you hear stories about other sports too, and you're just my God, like, it's just like, for some reason, high level sports just breeds this culture that just reeks. And, you want to somehow try to put a stop to it at some point, but it's just like this vicious cycle that just keeps going and going and going. And it's ridiculous.
I'll say this about, and listen, hockey is what we're probably all closest with and what we've seen. And, certainly, if you're my age or your age, you've heard ridiculous, disgusting stories of things that had happened in junior locker rooms and with teams over the years. And I think in a lot of ways, I hate to say it, it's sort of culminated with what happened in 2018. But the fact that has been a story, the fact that I mean, listen, shockwaves have happened. I mean, everyone on the Hockey Canada board had to resign. Everyone was done. You've got new people in charge. I do have the hope that was the seismic event that has sort of changed the way things are handled. Now, like, I don't want to hear any of this boys will be boys BS. that, I mean, that's criminal activity when you're talking about sexually assaulting someone. And there's I don't see a lot of gray area in that. But as far as how much borderline things were tolerated, treatment of women, all of those sorts of things at a minor league level by coaching and staff, and what was overlooked and what's been called out, I do have a hope that we're already seeing a real positive change. I mean, I think back to the last couple World Junior teams, and maybe this is because of the way Hockey Canada's had to run it, but I think of the Bedards and these sort of the guys that have been on the team. Like, it doesn't it just that the groups have seemed a little less greasy, to have not use a great term, but I kind of feel that these changes are happening right now at lower sports, and I think a lot of the stuff that we would have remembered happening, at least
just doesn't happen anymore.
are
Yeah,
not
hopefully.
happening anymore.
Yeah.
But I will say this, assuming that everyone's connecting the dots and this is these players are charged and this goes to, I mean, it's going to have a horrible effect on all these people's lives. I mean, the victim's going to be back into it all, but it is important for it to happen because it should never happen again. And the reason why these things have happened far too often is that good athletes and good hockey players have had people cover for them, have had people cover up things for them. And they haven't had to pay the price. And it looks like it's going down that direction right now. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That was, as I say, I was expecting something this morning the minute we heard the news yesterday.
Yeah.
And now very quick, the dominoes. I mean, Cal Foote and McLeod now on a leave from the New Jersey Devils. Formanton's coming back. And again, maybe it's entirely unrelated. I guess we'll find out. But the bottom line is the shit's hitting the fan with this one, and it's important to have happen because that's been a black cloud over Hockey Canada, over a number of these players for a number of years. And I'll tell you what, if you feel you're innocent or you didn't do anything like that, they're going to have to go and prove themselves in a court of law, presumably, and move on from there. But it's hard to just get right into talking about the games and everything. You have something that's so heavy right now of such importance to so many people, like real life stuff, not like blowing a terrible partner parlay last night in the lock shop.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot going on. It's a busy day for sports. There's no doubt about that. We've got lots to discuss as we work our way through this thing. I do see the nasty chats dropping plays on us here, so we'll definitely get into that. What I'm really pissed about is this golf tournament's already started. I sat down today because I was out of the loop the last couple of days with some family stuff. And so I sat down this morning after my show and I was like, all right, let's dive into this. I want to talk some golf in the lock shop today. And the event's already underway. So we missed that.
Listen, I have to give I guess an apology to the chat, and particularly Mark, who's there right now. Mark mentioned, like, we had just finished the show. All right, great, good stuff, guys. And I looked and like the third last comment in the chat was, Huss, the golf starts tomorrow.
Like a panic, and like, Huss, the golf.
I'm like, no. We kicked around. The guy, for everybody in the chat, I did jump on that make the cut parlay that you guys put together. Patty and I did put together a top 20 parlay, which was Finau Matsuyama, and he had Sahith Theegala. And for the record, I am on Tony at 25-1, Hideki at 50-1, and I like that Ash K. Badia. He was 80-1. We've seen some long shots win so far this year. I mean, that amateur that won last week,
that was impressive.
If any of you guys know what the number was on that guy that won last week, I would love to know. Nick Dunlap, I believe, is his name. Crazy, crazy story, though, coming on an amateur and winning. And did he take the money and go pro, or is he?
No, because when I was reading the preview for this week's event, one of the guys I was looking at was the largest earner from last week because the other kid's still an amateur. So I don't think he took the money. I could be wrong, but I don't think he took the money. So anyway,
it'd be tough not to take the money and the 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour. Not to mention, as a winner, you probably get into the Tournament of Champions.
How old is Dunlap? How old was he? Like, is it time to just like be like, yeah, okay, I got the money?
Masters invite too for winning that tournament? It's a pro-am, so maybe not. That might not be one of the tournaments that makes the cut for the Masters.
Dunlap's 20. He's 20 right now, so
Smitty, 500 to 1. Oh my God. Oh. And Feinberg on his podcast sort of just mentioned him, like not as much like, hey, I'm jumping on this guy, but they were throwing out a few interesting guys maybe to take a look at.
Some amateur,
Lo
amateur or whatever.
and behold, a 500 to 1 winner. And listen, obviously, I was all in on the football. I did not watch a single stroke of golf, but I did have a couple of buddies that were watching it, that were texting me about it. And it came down to 18. Like, he had a 3-shot lead, which he blew to Sam Burns, a pretty damn good player.
Yeah, Burns is good.
Tour. And he ended up draining one with the tournament on the line on 18 to win it. So it was a great scene. The tournament right now, let's just click on it. I mean, this is out on the West Coast. So
yeah, it's just getting going. Like, a lot of the big boys hadn't teed off. Well, they would have maybe now, because I was looking at it about an hour and a half ago. So
yeah, I mean, basically, Hogard, the top guys are 6 holes in. Hogard is at 3 under. The Charlie Hoff, and Pat Cantlay, 3 under through 4. He was one of the favorites right now. I think he was 11 to 1. Morikawa is 2 under through 4. Nice start for him. So it's good to have regular PGA Tour action going on right now. Do we have any live props for the upcoming live season? Can we bet on the team?
You know what, I'll be honest with you.
We get a live team.
I haven't got in to find out if we can bet a live team already. Live futures. I'm not sure I've got there just yet. I do want to talk quickly with you on the NFL because we haven't got there.
Yeah,
and then we have the NHL slate tonight. We'll certainly go there. But
Lions to the NFC Championship game.
Well, I don't know, it's a 7-point dog here. I like them. I like them plus the money. I mean, we'll get into that. That line's moved. It was 6.5. Did that not open at 6.5 this week? I think it opened at 6 and 7. Oh, did it open at 7?
It opened at 7 on Sunday night.
And then did it move?
Got it at 7.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it had been 6.5 for the last couple of days, and I see that it's
back to 7 right now. Yeah,
110. And I think that is actually a better number even than when it dropped. I'm pretty sure I can tell you because I bet it. Let me just go into it. Yeah, so Sunday night 7 was minus 112. It's now 7 at minus 110. So I guess a lot of the early money came in on Detroit, and now some Niners
coming back in the other way there. Yeah. So that number gets to 7 right now. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. Rod Z's in, says 3-team college basketball moneyline parlay tonight. Auburn, 12-0. Villanova, 15-0 in their last 15 in Madison. And Washington, it's plus 1,100. So if you want to ride a little 3-gamer on the college hoop scene tonight, Auburn, Villanova, Nova, as they call them in Washington, at 11 to 1. Huss, the one thing that I wanted to get to you, what are your thoughts on wrestling going to Netflix? WWE going to Netflix. I'm just curious because you're a big wrestling fan. What do you think of this move?
My thoughts. I'm going to have to finally get Netflix.
You don't have Netflix, right? So you're the perfect example. You're the guy that Netflix is like, let's sign up this for. Let's get this done. Like,
although, and I mean, listen, I am a casual viewer, but I do like tuning into the events. That's kind of why I have WWE Network. And I think I just discovered yesterday that now, like, the big events, which is WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and one other one I can't remember, are now like premium live events that I think you have to get Sportsnet Plus for. So,
oh, really?
I'll be getting rid of WWE Network, I guess, in some time, because this would normally be something I would get together with some guys or go to a bar, watch live. It's super, super fun. But Jets and playing the Leafs at 6 in Winnipeg. We've got our full WST crew there. It's going to be amazing. But it starts at 7. So normally I just PVR it and come back. And I was looking last night just to PVR it so I didn't forget. And I couldn't find it, which got me doing a little bit of digging. And I'm going, oh, maybe I don't get this premium live event. But as far as Netflix goes, listen, man, this is sort of the next frontier, I think, for professional sports. I mean, we've already seen the NFL do it, with
Amazon.
Game.
Oh yeah, Peacock.
Again, It didn't challenge us as much here in Canada because of the TSN deal, but like in the States, that game that I was at, the coldest game, whatever, 4th coldest game ever, the Chiefs game. If you did not live inside the city limits of Kansas City, the only way you could see that game was with the Peacock subscription. I guess there's some deal with the teams where the local affiliate inside the city, not the market, but the city. Like if you live 10 minutes outside of Kansas City, you had to get Peacock. So, I mean, there's been a flex there, and the NFL can do it more than anybody. But as these, and here's an interesting part of it too, like something like Netflix, I guess they're going to some, like, as I say, I don't have it. I know they're not putting up ads in the middle of the movies that you're watching. But as they get more shows and other sorts of things, and with sports, they have the potential to have advertising within it. And something, a deal like this with the WWE is in fact sort of brilliant, because it's not like it's a seasonal sport where it's just there for 4 or 5 months and then you can cancel the subscription. It's 52 weeks a year. I mean, death, taxes, and Monday night on Monday night, it is always there. And the fact that it's a 3-hour program or a 2-hour program for SmackDown or whatever. I mean, there's way more opportunities within that programming to put in advertising as well. So I really do get it from a Netflix decision. But the first thing I got thinking of, okay, well, what's next? And who could benefit from that? We've seen things like MLS going on Apple TV. I know that, which is the women's league? One of the women, maybe it's the WNBA, I think, is on Amazon Prime, because I do have that as an Amazon Prime member.
Yeah.
If you want to check those games. But like when this NHL deal is finished, and I mean, it sounds like Rogers already wants to get out of it. I mean,
I think they've wanted to get out of it for a few years, buddy.
Yeah. So, like, let's just talk about Canada. I mean, is TSN ponying up that money? I doubt it.
I think they're going to have to split it. I mean, if Sportsnet and like, to me, if Sportsnet and TSN, and I don't have any knowledge of this, but if Sportsnet and TSN want to, like, I think they're going to have to work together if one of these major streaming services are coming after it, right? Like, they're going to have to go to the NHL and say, look, we're going to get you heavily on both networks. Because I still think there would be an appetite for that here in Canada, but there's going to be so much money being thrown at these leagues, I would think, that it's going to be very, very tempting.
Well, here's the thing. I've been expecting this next deal to be significantly less than the one before, because, I mean, that was the all-time business power play move. Keith Kelly showing up at the NHL office while every TSN executive was with us in Regina at the 2013 Grey Cup and saying, here's $5.2 million. You've got 30 minutes to let us know whether you're in or out. You can't give them the opportunity to match. I'll wait in the waiting room. That's basically what happened. And they went and they said, okay, we're in. I mean, they took the money. Exclusive. It shut TSN out. And I mean, the repercussions have been felt on a number of levels for many, many years. They've lost so much money on it. They're now getting into a business, like, at least they own the Blue Jays, right? So that business model is very, very different. They're not just cutting a check, a massive check.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
We've seen how people have lost jobs, how they've switched things over. So it's coming towards the end. The NHL, I could see it being a combination of definitely still some broadcast television, because honestly, like, if Sportsnet and TSN did not have that live programming, everything that we grew up with, like with SportsCenter being so important, like that was where we found out. That was where we saw highlight. Well, it's so readily available in so many other ways right now.
They got to have the live program. They have.
I mean, I think the NFL was 97 of the top 100 television shows last year in the States. So, I mean, pro sports, live sports is the lifeline of cable television and conventional television right now. So they'll definitely still want to have a piece. But I would think that there will be also part of it that goes to one of the streaming packages. I mean, it's inevitable. That's where that money's coming from. And I will tell you this, I was thinking about this last night, Dusty. For something like the Canadian Football League, like, it would not shock me that in a few years we're doing the show and then saying, all right, we'll have a good time heading out to Regina. We'll look forward to seeing you on the Netflix game of the week tomorrow or something like that. I mean, And you know what? Gabe Morency had a great bit too. I mean, if you're the CFL, seeing what Netflix has done with a lot of other sports, like if you got into bed with them, both for broadcasting some of the games, but also
CFL films type of thing, yeah.
Yeah, CFL films. I mean, somewhat of a doc where you're following particular players on teams. I mean, we all know. I mean, CFL players are so great. They're personable. There's amazing stories from them. Like, I think there's a huge opportunity actually for a league like the Canadian Football League moving forward with a partner that is less traditional media, that looks to work together to benefit everyone in the long term. So it's a wild time right now in sports business, man. And I think that the things that we are most into here, NHL hockey, CFL football, obviously the NFL is already moving that way, but the NFL has been ahead of the game and they can do whatever they want because they just let people know what they're going to sell.
Yeah, I mean, they could launch their own streaming service and have 1 billion people subscribe. You know what I mean? Like, the NFL can do whatever they want. All right, so fun discussion. Lots of different things to talk about in sports right now, for sure. Decent slate tonight in the National Hockey League, 7 games. Chaz has just kind of been following along in the nasty chat here. He goes, we got an all-timer here. Bruins money line, Winnipeg money line, Vancouver -1.5, Kraken regulation, Auburn, Washington, Minnesota women, the Avs and reg, the Timberwolves money line, the Rockets money line, plus 26,294. I feel like I got to get on it just in case. You know, like that would suck if the crew hits that tonight and I didn't have a sprinkle on it. And then this is this is kind of funny to me, but also, I mean, it's sad too. Big Maple Sports Cards is in. It says, I just got back to the office. Did we already discuss the Farmers Insurance Open started today and I didn't even get to bet on my very first exclusive on CoolBet? FFS. For freak's sakes, you know, like, yeah, that's tough.
We did touch on that.
That's tough.
It's on me for having that completely slip by, and I thought they did that on the Super Bowl week, but that was the Phoenix tournament. I guess they started this thing on Wednesday so as to not compete with a full day of games on Championship Sunday, and it does make a lot of sense.
That actually does make sense. Hey, before we get to the NHL, we already kind of hit on the NFL quickly. We'll get to our picks on Friday, I guess. But you said you got on the Lions at 7 when it first opened?
I got on the Lions at 7 right away. By the way, Dan A in chat, the Oilers parlay came just short. We did sort of the nasties wanted an
beautiful.
EST
I love that.
So we had Oilers and reg, McDavid goal, Nuge point, Bouchard point. And it was the Bouchard point.
Oh, man, Bouchard's usually good for a point. That sucks.
I was refreshing to see if there was a cheesy empty netter at the end that might have gotten in on. It wasn't. And Big Maple had another chat. I think through Netflix they can get back to that 14A Attitude era-ish content a bit.
Oh, that'd be interesting. They bring back The Godfather,
or maybe a couple of things. Yes,
Val Venus returns.
Val Venus is getting the towel ready.
On the Chiefs Ravens, has that line moved at all? It's 3.5 right now. Tell me about that earlier in the week.
3.5. 3.5 right now, man. Yeah. And let's just see. Is the number changed at all? It's still Chiefs 105. Oh, and Ravens -111. What's wild is that the money line has really moved. Like the money line on that was -145.
Oh, wow.
Then went to plus 145. Plus 153, plus 160, and now plus 165. So, I mean, I luckily am on a bunch of Chiefs AFC futures, so I essentially have a lot lined up in this game already, but it's been hard not to keep on.
72% of the action on the Chiefs right now. At that plus 3.5. They got 179 tickets on the Chiefs, just 39 on the Ravens.
Interesting.
So something to keep in mind. Let me just quickly check the Lions action here. Dang. 88% of the action on the Niners, 206 tickets on the Niners, 10 tickets on the Lions right now.
Really?
That surprises me a little bit.
Well, that's probably why it went back to 7.
Yeah, that would be the reason.
Hey, outside of the bets, just how pumped were you when they got the job done against Baker? It was a good football
Buddy, it was
game.
amazing. I got like when they got up by 14, I was feeling pretty good. I let the kids come down in the basement for a bit. I was like, "Oh, Daddy's in a good mood. Daddy's in a good mood." And then when they scored that quick touchdown, the kids like I didn't even have to say anything. They just like, "We'll go upstairs," and they just kind of ran back upstairs. And then I was in full blown panic mode when they couldn't seal it away when they got the ball. And then as soon as that interception hit, I went running upstairs. I'll send you the video. Marshall's like hanging off of me. I'm just like, we've done it. So, I mean, and then we'll follow the status of Debo. But the Niners without Debo, man, I think the Lions can give them everything that they can handle. So, we'll see.
Oh, hey, that is a team. Like, are the Niners probably going to win? Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
probably
here for that. But that is a team that is going to fight for 60 minutes and is going to get their pound of flesh every single time they get a first down. They move the football. I mean, that defense is making people pay right now. I can't wait for the game. And listen, I'm just so pumped that the Lions were able to do it. I mean, there were two great stories, for long-suffering fan bases in this playoffs. I guess 3 if you want to include Cleveland, but they were one and done out early on Saturday afternoon in Wild Card Weekend. The Bills and the Lions. And, well, needless to say, I didn't want to see the Bills continue, but I really did want to see the Lions. And I am absolutely supporting. I mentioned this in the Lock Shop, Dusty, before things got going. I did look at the CoolBet exclusives or the options for the Super Bowl matchup.
Yes.
And I did throw down on the Lock Shop Bowl Chiefs to beat the Lions in the Super Bowl at 32-1. So
it's Chiefs. That's tough though. Chiefs to beat the Lions. I don't know about that. Lions have already beaten them once this year, right? Huh? So,
well, that's exactly. That was the Bills said the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. They did. That's right.
Tough to beat that team twice. I will say that. But anyways, but even if you have that, if you wanted to, not that I would, but I mean, the Chiefs would be a favorite against the Lions. I mean, if you're sitting on a 32-1 bet, if one team wins,
that's a good point.
You could load up on the other side if you want and guarantee yourselves X amount, and then, take a little bit off the top on the other ones. One of the things, and we'll kind of get into this Thursday and Friday, the championship specials. I told you I've got that Isaiah Pacheco top rushing leader in the playoffs, which was 18-1. I think he's down to plus 150 now.
Beautiful.
And I also hit the Mike Evans top receiving yards in last week's games. That was 8-1. So there's been some nice kind of periphery or bigger number ones coming in that has sort of made up for. Although, to be honest, I was a 2-point convert away from going 4-0 against the spread. I mean, if Tampa had just made that 2-pointer to be down by 6 instead of being down by 8, would have been 4-0. So it was actually a great football week. Haven't come through as much on our parlays this week in the Lock Shop, so hopefully we can turn that around. Hey, quick, let's get to the NHL tonight.
Well, you got to tell me about the Jets being a plus 120 dog here.
Well, here's the thing. This team, the Leafs are coming off this long Western road trip, and I know a lot of people around there don't have a lot of great feelings about the team coming up for it. It really sucks, though, without no Mark Scheifele and no Gabe Vilardi tonight for the Jets.
2 big pieces.
And Brossois in, although normally I would have made a bigger deal about that before. He's had Hellebuckian numbers for the last 2.5 months as well. There's almost been no difference. And a big part of that is the way the Jets have played defense. They got worked a bit by the Bruins on Monday night, and we knew that would happen. They embarrassed Boston here in Winnipeg on this 22nd of December. The Bruins remembered that. They were ready to go. And even though the Jets had almost no offense to speak of, they did a really good job holding Boston out of high danger scoring chances. And, it was just one of those slogs. I mean, a battle of defense on both sides. And a couple mistakes ended up in the back of the net, and they ended up ending their streak and getting the loss. I mean, the Jets are going into this game tonight with Dominic Toninato playing on the second line, and he's been great getting called up from the Moose and playing on the fourth line. But they are going to be leaning on Nikolai Ehlers and Kyle Connor to carry the mail for them on that top line. They'll probably be playing a lot. Those guys, specifically Connor, not great defensively. So I do sort of wonder about how much time they're out, especially against those top dogs. And Adam Lowry's line. Adam Lowry's in a much better spot playing on the third line with Nito Niederreiter and Mason Appleton, although I'm sure they'll get second line minutes tonight as they normally do. But yeah, I mean, normally if you just say, hey, the Jets going in, they've been so good for such a long time, going into Toronto against a Leafs team that's been really iffy, why wouldn't you hammer the money line? Just people need to know that Scheifele's out. And right now, this is part of the reason why we talk so much about adding a second line center for the team at the deadline. You saw it in spades last night, a team that normally is really balanced and has a lot going on. I mean, his being out of the lineup essentially nukes two lines right now. And this is going to be tough. That being said, I like the positivity about the Jets in the chat. And I think Rod was talking about a bunch of the home favorites and then taking the Jets as well with them. I can't say I don't mind that as well. I'm very impressed with the Bruins and what they did to Winnipeg on Monday. We'll see whether they can take that out. Great matchup between Carolina and Boston tonight.
Yeah, I love that Boston money line play, man. If we're looking to build like a little bit of a parlay here, Boston money line at -140. Carolina's kind of been up and down a little bit lately. Bruins have won 5 in a row. 4-3, 3-0, 5-2, 9-4, 4-1. Like it hasn't really been close. One of those games was against Colorado. One of them obviously against the Winnipeg Jets. So I do love Boston. I'm surprised that number's not where it's at. The Jets line has actually moved. It was +120 when we were doing our show this morning. It's +125 right now for the Jets as a dog.
Yeah, I think more people are realizing that the fact that Scheifele and Velarde are out and Brossoit starting. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that goes like to +130 or +135 by the time we get closer to game time tonight. I do like an Ehlers goal. If you're looking for a Jets bet tonight, I'll be on Nikolai Ehlers at +210. He's going to get an opportunity to play a lot tonight, as he should. And I think they're going to really be telling him to shoot the puck as much as possible. Sometimes they like to get a little pretty. I think they realize they're not in a position to do that right now. They got to forecheck the hell out of Toronto. They got to do what they do best, and that's defend and make life miserable for their opponents right now. Total in the game is 6. Under 6.5 is -134. Definitely like the under in that game. Like I'm not expecting an explosion from Winnipeg, but much like the game against Boston, one of those goals was an empty netter. We had that in our partner parlay. In fact, I will say this, Dusty, on Monday, as bad as the one was yesterday, the one on Monday, we had the under in the Jets-Boston game. We had the Panthers to win, and we had Vegas in Jersey, and they blew a 5-4 third period lead, lost in overtime, and Bruce Cassidy said they looked like they played a beer league game. So Patty did the unprecedented move of telling lock shoppers that if you were on the partner parlay last night, send me a screen cap of it, and we'll get you a little make good in the account. So he was in much better spirits yesterday than he was on Tuesday for obvious reasons.
What
do you like tonight?
Well, I like Boston. I do like the Boston Bruins at -140. Some of these other numbers, like I like some of these teams, but I don't know how we get the value out of the numbers. Like, I mean, I know if we're going into a parlay, it's different. I do like the Kraken tonight. I think I like the Vancouver Canucks tonight. I don't know where to go on that Buffalo Los Angeles game tonight. But like the Kraken are -280. The Canucks are -239. Colorado at home against Washington, -261. Part of me was thinking I might like the under in that Chicago-Seattle game. It's sitting at 5.5, and we just don't see many 5.5s anymore. Somebody in the nasty chat was said, I can't remember who it was. It was just like, take all the home favorites tonight, or just take the Jets at the +125. Just for fun, I'm just seeing if you took all the home favorites tonight, not including the Toronto Maple Leafs, +467. I don't know. What else do you like tonight?
Well, you know what? I'm actually looking, and I do this occasionally. Looking at some puck lines. Like, as I said, the numbers on money line, not worth it. I guess we could go, with your specialty, the in regulation numbers.
I do like the regs.
But I don't mind Vancouver -1.5 against St. Louis. Blues just played last night in Calgary. Kraken at home -1.5 against the Blackhawks at -105. And the Panthers back at home +105 against the Coyotes. Panthers won that game on Monday. They lost 4 in a row before that. I think they really sort of put the gas. I don't think Maurice is going to let these guys lay off. So those 3 puck lines, I think I might ride tonight, +736. Who knows? Maybe we'll get it in for those guys, and they can maybe get a boost on that if we want to put it in the exclusives.
Yeah, we could definitely do that as well. You like all 3 of those puck lines?
I was thinking on just doing a little puck line frenzy tonight for those 3 games. Those are the ones that really stand out to me as far as to win by 2. I'm thinking Colorado against Washington, but I think I like those other 3 the most if we're going to take teams to win by 2.
What say you can hit us up in the nasty chat. Of course, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. Somebody just texted in. And, this is quite something. Oilers Sports Bar in Bucharest, Mexico. Watched the game last night with a diehard Mexican server while I was there. There's a festival going on in the background. And it's just a straight up, I'm trying to look who they, like the sports bar menu has an Oilers goalie on the front of it. Like it's a full-blown like Oilers sports bar in Mexico, which is quite something to see right now.
You know how that place started? It was some dude. He'd probably been working for 12 to 15 years in Fort McMurray. He was one of the guys that don't go on all-time benders on their time off and actually saved his cash. And then, for instance, when you guys were getting -40s a couple weeks ago, that had happened a few years ago, and he goes, screw this. I'm done. I'm going to Mexico, and I'm going to open a sports bar. And damn it, the Oilers are my team. This is going to be an Oilers bar. And those things pop up all over the place. There are always kind of really neat stories behind that. But not sure whether I'll be seeing that place when I'm down in Mexico shortly. But as long as there's a place to watch the Super Bowl and get a few hockey games on TV, I'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be okay. When do you leave for that? That's next weekend? You take off?
No, 2 weeks Friday. The Friday before the Super Bowl. I'm going to need to get all my Super Bowl picks in on the Thursday.
Okay.
Beforehand.
And that Thursday I'll be doing the show from Vegas. So that'll be a good one. We get some Super Bowl picks in Vegas. We announced that today. We are taking Edmonton Sports Talk to Vegas on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of Super Bowl week. The Oilers happen to be playing down there on the Tuesday. We teamed up with the airport. They're sending us down. We're sending down me, Maddie, Eric. Tommy's coming down to do pre and post. And we're going to be doing all our shows from Vegas for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which should be a lot of fun. And then they've hooked us up with an itinerary where we're going to the Sphere Monday night when we land. We're going to Circus Swim. We're going to Top Golf. Like this big sort of tourism push that we're doing with the airport, right? So we're going to go hit up all these places. They got a bunch of restaurants that we have to go to. They've got us passes to the NFL Fan Fest on Thursday afternoon before we fly home. So that'll be cool. We'll go check that out as well. And then when we come back, we're doing a month-long contest and we're giving away a trip to Vegas for 2 ESTers, which would be pretty cool.
2 questions. Do you know where you're staying and do you know where you're doing the shows?
We're staying at MGM. And worst case scenario, we'll do the shows from the room. But we're hoping to track down somebody at MGM. Maybe we can get in a conference room or in a lobby or something somewhere.
Yeah, sportsbook.
Yeah, sportsbook would be great.
MGM book is great. I have spent a ton of time at that place.
Well, Maddie has never been to Vegas, so this is his first taste. So Eric and I went to Vegas a few years ago. Actually, Eric and I took down some listeners to Vegas. Very first game the Oilers ever played in Vegas. We did this trip with the radio station. I think it was the last radio station trip we ever did, which was a long time ago now. But one of the listeners, he was dancing at Coyote Ugly, and he tore his ACL. He had to have surgery when he got home. He had to wait 2 years to get surgery or something like that. It was ridiculous.
I'll be honest. I mean, I know you said that it's Maddie's first time in Vegas, but I'm mostly worried about LTE.
Yeah, you think so?
I think. Well, actually, you too. Now that I think
I
about
thought
it.
I flew under the radar there for a second.
Yeah,
I was like,
well, I should mention that. I should mention that. Dusty's not out of the woods yet either. And then, do you guys come back on Thursday?
we're coming
after
back.
the
We're
show?
flying back Thursday night. So we get back at like midnight. And then we'll be in on Friday. But, I mean, it's going to be tough. If the Lions, for some reason, are playing the Ravens in the Super Bowl, Maddie's a huge Ravens fan. I'm a huge Lions fan. Do you know how hard it's going to be for me to fly away from Vegas on Thursday night if the Lions are playing in the Super Bowl there on Sunday? Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't think physically my body will allow it. So we'll have to see. We'll have to play the return home by ear.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that I have a feeling probably the reason why that trip is scheduled for Tuesday through Thursday is that the price of accommodations is going to significantly increase come Friday of Super Bowl weekend in Vegas. I'm actually really choked not to be there. But this, you know what? As I say, this year we make the pledge. Next year, where is the Super Bowl next year? Do we know?
New Orleans.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, we have to.
Yeah, because we emailed the NFL people because we're like, man, it'd be great to get on Radio Row while we're down there instead of just doing the whole show.
Yes.
And they emailed us back and said the deadline was December 15th, and if we get to them before December 15th next year, they got no problem putting us on the list. So that'd be cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we might need to be leaning on our friends at CoolBet. We'll be working a year in advance on this. Lock Shop, WST, EST, at least the two of us down there, and the timing of our shows is perfect. We both be there at the same time, be able to do a whole bunch of things together. But hey, if we could make it even grander and get the whole crew down there, even better. But I was there. Speaking of the Ravens and 49ers, I was at that Super Bowl. That was the infamous one where the lights went
you were
out.
at that one?
I was at that one. It was still one of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had in my life.
Is that Beyonce? Beyonce, that's when the lights went out, right? It was during Beyonce, yeah.
That was Beyonce. The lights went out. And it was just such a weird time in the world, too. Like, you weren't sure whether this was some sort of like
good point.
Like, oh yeah, like it was a very, very weird thing. Gary Lawless got trapped in a freaking elevator.
Inside the stadium?
Yeah, because he was coming from the press box down to see me, and he was in there.
No.
And they got out. They had they pulled it open. Then he had to run down all these stairs in the darkness. Like, it was pitch black.
I remember I was at the Canadian Brew South Side, like before they blew up. They didn't have many stores back then, and I was hosting that one. And I remember we got some good chants going when the power went out. It was a good time. Obviously not Gary Lawless being locked in an elevator. Good time, but still, I remember where I was for that one.
And that, of course, was Joe Flacco, 11 TDs, no picks. And that game completely flipped around after the break. It was almost like it was that extra time off got the Niners right back in the game. But the Ravens won. It could be Ravens and Niners again, but I think both of us are definitely out on that. Hey, listen, before I go, so Ehlers goal plus 210, and I will throw in these three money lines: Canucks by 2, Kraken by 2, Panthers by 2 tonight. It's at plus 736. So I don't know whether we want to put that in there. Or
well, you can throw that in. I got something else cooking here too. I can throw in a little bit of a safer one because that's how I usually roll. I can get a couple of regulations, so we'll do that as well. And so text yours to the boys. I don't think I saw Jake pop up in the chat, so fire that over to the boys. I'll fire mine over as well. I'll recap it here when we let you go. Winnipeg Sports Talk right away here. What's up today, Huss? What are you getting into?
Well, I mean, we're going to be all over this game tonight. Nick Alberga is going to join us. Ken Weeb's going to join us from Toronto as well. We'll really kind of dive into the latest on the Jets and Leafs before this big one tonight. And I mean, right off the top, obviously talk about the big news in hockey that we kind of have to talk about, and then move forward from there. But it should be a good one. We'll fire it up in just over 5 minutes from now over on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Looking forward to seeing you then. And tomorrow we can dive in a little closer to Championship Sunday in the National Football League with both our teams still playing, Dusty. Who would have thunk it at the beginning?
What a time to be alive. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up here with Huss right away. We got Oil Stream in about 5 minutes. Huss, I'll let you go, buddy, and I'll wrap things up here in the Lock Shop.
Thanks, dude.
There you go. That is Huss. Find him on Twitter at Hustlerama. If you're watching the Lock Shop today or at any time, if you're live or watching it later on, make sure you sub to Edmonton Sports Talk. We're almost at 6,700 subs as we continue our push up towards 7,000. So give us a sub and tell your friends about Edmonton Sports Talk. We're going to be giving away a trip to Vegas as we work our way through the month of February, which should be pretty darn cool. The one that I want to get on tonight, and I'll send this over to the boys here too. Hopefully we can get a little exclusive on it. Along the same lines as us, just playing a little bit safer. I'm going to go Florida and Vancouver in regulation, and then Boston on the money line, and that's plus 395 before a boost. So like that's a pretty good number anyway. Panthers in reg minus 143, Canucks in reg minus 143, Bruins money line minus 140. Pat's like, Dusty, are you guys going to Vegas? I'm like, yes, but I want the parlay. I'll message him right now. We'll get into that as well. Plus 395. Panthers reg, Canucks reg, Bruins money line minus 143, minus 140, minus 143 for plus 395 prior to the boost. We'll get that up at the exclusives page over at coolbet.com. Quickly, your starting goaltenders for tonight. We kind of looked at the slate, didn't really dive in to some guys that had been confirmed so far tonight in the National Hockey League. Let's go here. Vejmelka will get the start for the Coyotes. Bobrovsky between the pipes for the Florida Panthers. Samsonov confirmed for Toronto, so that's kind of good news for the Jets, who are missing a couple of offensive pieces. It'll be Laurent Brossoit versus Samsonov today. Olmark and Spencer Martin unconfirmed at this point. Charlie Lindgren will start for Washington, going up against the Colorado Avalanche, and Georgiev pretty much starts every single game there. Peter Mrazek with a new 2-year deal locked up, unconfirmed at this point for the Blackhawks. Joey Decord for the Kraken. Casey DeSmith is confirmed for the Vancouver Canucks tonight at home against likely Joel Hofer after the Blues did play it last night as well. I like that even more here for the Canucks tonight. And then the Los Angeles Kings and Buffalo Sabres final game of the day. Both those goaltenders unconfirmed at this point as well. Levi and Talbot, the two guys who are listed as unconfirmed at this point. All right, that is going to do it for the Lock Shop today. I didn't even take a look at the NBA card tonight. Pretty busy slate tonight as well. Let me just quickly whip you through that. The Pistons. Man, how bad are the Hornets when the Pistons are 3-point favorites? My God. I don't even want to look at the rest of that slate. That disgusts me. I'm done with it. I'm not even looking at the rest of the games. The Pistons are a 3-point favorite tonight. Lock Shop is over. Thank you very much for being here today. Good luck tonight, everyone. And we will talk to you tomorrow on the Lock Shop. If you've been listening live at TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, make sure you do subscribe to the podcast as well. And, you'll never miss an episode. Oil Stream coming up. We got lots to discuss here at Edmonton Sports Talk as the Oilers have won 14 in a row. Do not go anywhere. Make sure autoplay is on. I'll take you right on over to the Oil Stream.